Hi, I'm Jamie from puzzling.com, and today we're going to play through a full-size killer Sudoku puzzle together. You're going to watch and I'm going to struggle. So, to recap the rules, the standard rules of Sudoku apply. It's a 9 by 9 grid. We have columns going up to down and rows going across. Each of the nine squares has 9 squares inside it, and in each of those squares you need to put the numbers 1 to 9, no repeats. The numbers also can't repeat in a row or a column. Now what Killer Sudoku does is introduce the notion of a sum. So we've got these smaller boxes in the grid inside there, which have a sum in the top left hand corner, which need the numbers need to add up to that. So that's going to help us work out logically what we can do. So let's dive in. Now a really good way to start is to find any small number or big number that could only be a certain combination of numbers. So for example, in this middle square here, you've got these 3 adding up to 24. Now, because all of the numbers have to be used, the only 3 numbers that can add up to 24 are 9, 8, and 7. So we can put those in, penciled. Start with that. What else have we got? In this top middle square, we've got a 3. Now that's the minimum amount possible, so that has to be a 1 and a 2. So we can pencil those in. There's a 16 here, which, because you can't have 2 8s, must be a 7 and a 9. And what that does is, if we look at the other end of that row, what that means is that because those have to be 7 and 9s, this one at this end has to be the 8 and the 7 and 9 elsewhere. So that's given us a good start. Now let's do something a little bit more complicated. So in this bottom left, we've got a 6, a 17 and a 14, and then 1 that we don't know anything about. But what we do know is, because all of the numbers 1 to 9 have to appear in that square, they have to add up. The total sum of 1 to 9 is 45. So if we add these up, so we've got 6 and 14, which is 20, and 17 is 37, then the remainder, which is to get to 45, the remainder is 8. So that one can go in as well. Now I'm going to apply the same logic on this top row, which has, well, it's got a 16, so we know that's 9 and 7 again. Put those in. But it's also got, so it's a 10, 16, 8, which is 26, 34. These must add up to the remainder of that to get it up to 45. So that's 11. And if the value of those 3 is 11, then this one must be 4 to add that up to 15. So it's quite a complicated technique, that one, but it's very, very useful. Now then, where are we going to go next? So we can go back to this top left grid. We've got 10, 6, and 20, which adds up to 36, which leaves us 9 to find in these 2. Now, one of them can't be a 9, because otherwise it would add up to more than 9, in which case that must be the 7, and that must be 2. The 6, at this point, because of the 2 there, the 6 can only be added up a 1 and a 5, because you can't have 2 3s, and the 2 is already in there. So now we can finish off marking these, I think. Maybe not, actually. We shall come back. But the 6 here, 1 and 5, means that the 6 down here has to be 2 and 4. So we're doing quite well on this row, and we've only got 2 left over, so that must be either the missing ones. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 3 is one of them, and 6 is the other. So we can put 3 and 6 penciled into those at either end. Right, so now that we know this one here is either a 3 or a 6, we can look at the other numbers that we've already got, and we can see that this 7 is already here, which does mean that that can't be a 3, because otherwise the 10 would have to be 3 and 7, so it must be the 6. And that means that the other one must be a 4, and we've already eliminated that one there. Yes, we've already marked the 2 down here, so we can fill that in. That's definitely the 1, and that's definitely the 2. That's useful because it means that we know that the other 2, because of standard Sudoku rules, where you've got the rows, we've got 2 there, 2 there, so it must be at the top. It can't be in any of these other boxes here. So you can put the 2 in, which surely means we can ascertain that that is going to be a 3 and a 5. There's no other combination. Now that we've got that, this 10 is almost, it has to be a 4 and a 6, because they're the only numbers that still add up to it. So this must be a 7 and an 8. We don't know where yet, but because that's a 7 or an 8, this also has to be a 7 or an 8. It will be the opposite one. Because we've got the 1 in here, I've just realised that 5 has become available up here, which means we can put the 1 in there. And that 1 and the 1 in the bottom mean that the 1 needs to be up here somewhere in one of those. And now we know that it's a 1 and 2 and a 4 and one other number. So 15 is, that leaves 8 left over. So that's also going to be, that's going to be an 8. Which means that this one down here can no longer be the 8, because there's an 8 going to be somewhere in this square already. So that has to be the 7, and that has to be the 8, which makes that have to be the 7. We can go ahead and do some admin here and put some pencil marks in. You don't need to use these pencil marks. I mean, feel free not to, but it does make everything very much easier. And as I put them in, you see, there's an 8 in this row already, and there needs to be 1 in this square, so that's going to have to be there, which means these are 3 and 9. 3 plus 9 plus 8 does indeed equal 20. So we'll look like we're right there. We've already got the 4 here, so that's the 6, and that's the 4. Being very heavily concentrated at the top of this grid, but you do what you can. So we're going to have a 3, 6, and 9 going in here, because they're the only ones left in that row, which means this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, that must be a 5. So that does at least open up this. We can now know that that's going to be the 9 and that's going to be the 7. This is why the pencil marks are useful. Okay. Again, slightly more complicated mathematics coming up. We can't do anything over here because that's the 2. So we know that those 2 must add up to 7, but so do these, in which case it could be any combination. We'll come back and look at that again. I forgot, when we filled in the 6 up there earlier, that meant that that was the 3, so we can fill that in. These are going to add up to 11, but there's no help yet as to how. 7. Okay, the 13 here, we've already got a 7 and an 8 in the line. So the only two numbers that can add up to 13 are 9 and 4. So we can put those in too. Okay, some big complicated mathematics coming up here. So here's a really good solve. So the 7 in there means that this equals 13, and the 2 there means this equals 7. So together all of these add up to 20. And then if we add the 8, the 9 and the 7, that's 24, added to 20 gives us 44, means this has to be the 1. I did that confidently. We will come back and find out whether that was correct. We know that because there's a 2 in here, there can't be a 2 in there. So it must be in this middle box, and it must be either there or there, because we've already got this 2 here. So we know that's 2. Now, if this was a 3, if one of these was a 3, the other would have to be a 4, which is possible. These have to add up to 13, so these need to add up to 11. Now, to get 11, we've already used the 8, 9, and 7 in here. So the only two numbers left that will add up to 11 are 6 and 5. That can't be the 6 because there's one just up there, so we'll pencil in the 5. This is going to be a 6 and a 5. This can also still be a 6 or a 5. 1, 2, which leaves us either 3 or 4. And 3 or 4. And that can't be the 4 because there's one already in that row. So that must be the 3, and that must be the 4. Now then. Yes, the 3 is gone, so that must be the 9. That must be the 3. Right, so that's no help there. This needs to add up to 11. And we've got a 3 and an 8, so it's not 3 and 8. What else adds up to 11? 9 and 2, but we've got a 9 already. 3 and 8. 4 and 7, but we've got a 4 in there already. 5 and 6. It's the only possible ones that can be. 5 and 6. Which means the 6 is going to be either one of those. And this will be a 1. What else have we got in this column? We've got 2. We're going to need 2s. There must be a 2 in here. So yes, this is going to be 2. These are either going to be 2 or 5. Now, what does that leave us in this column here? Leaves us a 1 and a 9. That's 1 and 9, that's 1 and 9, which means they add up to 10. So this one must be 7 to add up to 17. Okay, I'm just going to do a little bit of pencil marking in the middle because I feel like this is where we're going to get some results next. So we're still missing a 1 in here. In fact, that's very useful. So the 1 in this column, we've already penciled in. This is either a 4 or 9, and that can't be a 1 either because of the 1 over here. So one of these must be a 1, which means the other one must be an 8 to add up to 9. So that's 1 and 8, which leaves us in the middle with 3 and 7. 3 and 7, 3 and 7. Does that help us anywhere? Yes, at the top, because there's now a 3 definitely going to be in that column. That must be the 5. That must be the 3. That can now only be a 6 because we've got 2 and 5 already in there. So 6 is going to be down there. 7, 7. 7 is going to be one of these two because we've got that there and that there. If these two add up to 10, which they do, then these two here must add up to 12. Can we do anything with that? It's going to be an 8 and 4 or a 9 and 3, but we've already got a 3 in there, so that's going to be an 8 and 4. And that's going to be an 8 and 4. And that means that this one at the bottom must be the remaining number, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Of course, it's top of the shop. It's number 9. In this one, we've already got an 8, 9, and 7. It's got to add up to 32. So these three add up to 24. So we need another 8. The 4 doesn't help us. Could be... Well, we've already got the 7, so it can't be a 7 and a 1. Can't be a 6 and a 2 because it's got that one in there as well. 5 and a 3 is a possibility. 2 and 6, no. 24. We need 8. Can't be 1 and 7. Can't be 2 and 6. Can be 3 and 5. Can't be 4 and 4. Right. So it has to be 3 and 5. Thank you for sticking with me. That took a little while to work through in my mind. So that can't be the 3. So that's a 3 or that's a 3. And then the remaining 5 will be any of those. But what it does mean is that up here we can take that 5 out of the equation and make it a 2 and that 5. Now, we know enough about the mathematics of this now. We know that this adds up. It's going to be 3, 5 and 7. So that adds up to 15. Plus the 9, 24. Plus 12, 36. So these three numbers have to add up to 9. And we can work out very quickly that it's the remaining ones. Which was an easier way to do it, which I'm sure you all saw already. The remaining ones to add up to 9 are a 1, 6, and 2. Goodness. Took a lot of brain power, that one. So we can put 1, 2 and 6 in there, 1, 2 and 6 in there. I feel like we're one move away from really cracking this. But where? So these two have to add up to 11. So it would have to be a 9 and a 2. Wait a second, the 9 has to be there. We've already established that. Because all of these others are spoken for. So this is the 9. Which means that's a 2. Right. Let's see if I was right. I think that's given us enough to take out all the ones that we penciled for a little while. So that's a 1, that can be a 2, that's got to be the 6, that's got to be the 5. Has that? Yes, so that's solved us that one. One more, I think. Where's our 2s? Okay, so one of these is an 8, because we've got those in there. Right, I see it. You've all seen it. You've all seen it already. 5 and 5. 5 is already in there. So these two mean it has to be in the middle, and it can't be in that column. It must be there. So that's our 5. 5 from 16 is 11. So can't be 9 and 2. Could be 8 and 3. Can't be 7 and 4. Can't be 6 and 5. So it's 8 and 3. And we've already got an 8 in there. So that's the 3. And that's the 8. Which means the 6 goes there and the 3 goes there. Working away. What have we got left here? So we know that these must be the remaining numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they're 4 and 6. Which means this can't be a 4. It has to be a 9. That's a 4. That's a 7. 3. I love this part of the game. There's actually already a 4 in this column, so that's a 6, and that's a 4. These two need to add up to 6, but there's not a lot of help there at the moment. We can do 4 and 4. And we can do 7 on this side. This is just using the standard Sudoku rules. 7, 7, 7, 4, 4, 4. What have we got? 6 could be anywhere on this side. The 3 is going to be in one of these. And because that's 6, this needs to add up to 6. So it can't be a 3. Because that would mean it would be 2 3s, and you can't do 2 3s. So this has to be the 3. Which means this has to be a 3. So we've still got a 5 and 7 there. We've got a 5 and 7 there. So look, we've got a 5 and one of these is a 5, and one of these is a 5, which means one of these has to be a 5, and we've already got those. So that must be the 5. This must be a 1 to make this add up to 12. That's 11 plus 1. And then we can go across and do the 1, 9, and the 1. Get rid of our pencil marks. The 9 has to be one of these two because of these. So because of that one there, it's got to be that one. 2's at the top. 1's there. Which means there's a 2 on this side somewhere. What are these going to be? 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 6, 7, 8. The other one's going to be an 8. So it's that one or that one. Oh, we've actually already completed these columns, so we know that that's the 7 and that's the 4. We know that that's a 2 and a 6, which leaves the 8 to go there, which means that's a 4, that's an 8. The 2 and 6 here means this has to be the 1. This is the 5, the 7, the 6, the 5, the 2, 4, the 6, the 2, the 6, and the 2. Puzzle complete. Hope you enjoyed that. Please do like the video and subscribe to our channel, and let us know in the comments below if there's any particular type of puzzle that you'd like to see more of. See you next time.